What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Batman News Weekly. This is episode 209 in year 5. We have started, ladies and gentlemen. Clay is actually here for this episode. He is back. He survived the COVID. And yeah, Clay, how was that experience?
Barely survived. Holy crap. I will say this. I told people way back when COVID really was starting and the shutdowns and everything that if you get COVID, you're an idiot. Because it should be simple enough to not get COVID. We still do not know how we got it. Yeah, there is no inclination on how we got it, which absolutely sucks. But
well, your wife works, doesn't she?
She does.
She work from home or she works at an office?
She works from home, but from time to time, because of what she does in social media marketing, she sometimes needs to get footage of said businesses or pictures and things like that. And then every other week, everybody on her team meets up at you basically rent a space and you work at that space. It's one of those places.
Gotcha.
Remember how we first started recording?
Yeah.
Kind of like one of those places. So they do that every other week. So possibly from that. There's also a small coffee shop here in my hometown that Abby has been going to every once in a while. And I'm just like, it's got to be one of these places. So you're never allowed to go to these places again.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Yeah, I guess I'm the lone survivor. I think everybody I've known, my brother might have not got it. I think that's it. I know my niece and my sister-in-law have, though.
Well, and the big thing was I was like, man, there goes my streak. Like my big accomplishment was to always say I never got COVID.
Yeah.
And now I can't say that. But the hardship of it was really a day and a half for me compared to my child and my wife, which took all week for them to recover.
Oh, really?
Yeah. For me, it was just I sweated it out all in one night, and I was like, oh, I think I'm good. And then I was just tired for the rest of the week. That was basically it.
Yeah, I got the booster back in June, and I was done for 24 hours. So if it's like that, I'm like, well, that sucks, but it's not too crazy. But it's a lot easier when you have the vaccine. But that's not what we're talking about. But glad you survived the experience. I will say, recording a podcast by yourself is fucking taxing. I will say that. But it seems like you did okay. Yeah, it seems like we got some questions on it. It seems like people actually watch the fair amount. So it wasn't a complete disaster. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we are here going into year 5 of the podcast, which is insanity. I recently checked top Batman podcasts, and I saw a list of 25, and we're in slot 9. So I don't know how that is calculated. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's by reviews, if it's by views, what the case is. It could be just pure bullshit on a website that probably wants us to spend money on it, because you can actually, the list had options to where you could link all your other stuff and so people could find you easier, but it was a subscription service. So I don't know how real it was, but top 10, baby. That's all I'm going to say. All of the other podcasts have been around, I think, longer than us.
Yes, they have. Yeah.
So that was the thing. So kind of cool. So appreciate everybody that's been listening and whatnot. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, you should go subscribe over there because we've been dropping content. And yeah. So as for Batman news this week, there's not much. So
no, not much at all.
Yeah.
There has been small updates to the strike, and when I say small updates, it's really the two sides bickering about who is at a standstill and who is not. So all I do know is the newest update is if studios do not hit a for sure deal by October 1st, it will delay TV shows and movies for the entire calendar year for the next
Oh,
year is what
damn.
I have seen in the last 2 days.
Yeah.
So we got a month. So less
Yeah.
than a month.
I am kind of really hoping that smaller studios, like independent ones, just meet all the demands and they come out on top and fuck WB and fuck Disney and fuck everybody else.
Well, like the big thing is like of course A24 and all those
Yeah.
smaller studios, right? Well, a lot of these actors for those studios have
Mhm.
gotten the right to go promote their films and whatnot, and they're actually talking shit to the big studios on their interviews.
Yeah.
So it is making to a point like people are noticing like, hey, these studios are kind of being assholes.
Yeah.
So I think we will see that in some capacity. I don't know if
Mhm.
it'll be like a huge like holy shit, they're like running the industry now,
Yeah.
type of thing.
I I don't know what's going on with animators, animation, and all that, but they need to do something too. If they do something, like, can you imagine? Granted, it's not going to happen in Japan, but like, if can you imagine if anime was just like, we're on strike? It'd be like, oh my god, no!
Fucking pay your writers, pay your illustrators.
Yeah,
Ah!
freaking weebs would go insane. It'd be invading Japan to get the strike over with. But like, yeah, that's I don't know, man. It just seems like it's getting worse, to be honest.
Yeah.
I know Zaslav was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do everything in my power to try to get this to fucking, get fixed and whatever." I'm like, "No, you're not, bro. Like, your 1 year salary could like pay so many people like for
No, I
years."
I think it's funny, like, the big thing was, like, "Oh, we're saving so much money on this strike," and then it came
Hmm.
out last week that they lost $500 million, like,
Yeah,
in that small quarter.
yeah. I hope it keeps going. It sucks for the people in the industry, right? Like,
Yeah.
we're only outsiders. We're talking about it. It sucks for the people that are possibly losing their mortgages and all that kind of shit. But it's when you see something you need to fight for, you have to be able willing to sacrifice everything, right? And that's like the unfortunate truth of it all. So they're doing this for future generations that are gonna be fucked over or would be fucked over if there is no kind of a deal for AI. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
AI is going to be kind of crazy. Did you see that the voice actress from Daphne got duped into buying
The
AI art?
AI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's wild. She was heartbroken too.
Yeah. She was like, I'm so mad. I want a refund. She was like, of course, I'm not going to use this, yada, yada. It's unfortunate, man, because like just because AI is getting so good. It's getting so granted, I will say AI is getting really good, but all the art styles are the fucking same. It's all that like, crisp line kind of art style. And I'm like, this style is boring. I feel bad for the artist that started that style because it's so garbage now. Because
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's AI style now. And I'm like, that sucks. Because like a lot of people don't really like everybody's like, oh, hyper realistic is really good. And it is, but then like it's just like, I play visual novels with that style all the time. So
Yeah.
like I
Yeah.
don't care about it anymore. But yeah, man, it's I don't know. AI is kind of like you think DC is ever gonna do an AI issue? I will
I
say
don't
we
know.
we read a story today that is kind of giving off that vibe. Batman and Robin, the art style is kind of,
Uh
you
uh
know,
I believe that's
is that Campbell? Not Campbell.
no,
Can't.
it's not Campbell. It's oh shoot. He was really big on some of the Power Rangers issues back in the day. Let me actually see if I can
Yeah.
find
And the
the
art's good, but it's like I think it's the coloring that I was like, it makes
th-
it look computer
th-
generated.
yeah, the coloring did not help it at all, to be
Yeah.
honest. It is Simone
Okay.
DeMio. He is I don't remember if he's Italian or he's from across the pond.
Yeah.
So I like the way he draws some
Mhm.
of these characters.
Yeah.
And we'll get to it when we get to
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
But yeah, the coloring on his art did not help the AI look of it.
Yeah. So I don't know. That kind of sucks, man. I don't know what's gonna be happening with the writer strikes. I could see it going to the end of the year. Honestly,
Yeah.
I could see it going past October because dude, like right now, the thing is, I think what's happening, and I don't watch any of these shows, so it doesn't really matter to me, but like the Drew Barrymore stuff is going on. But now that
Yikes.
asshole Bill Maher, I hate that dude Bill Maher. Because he's just so annoying. He's just like grandpa that doesn't understand what's going on nowadays. He's
Mm-hmm.
coming back, and it's these shows that are like talk shows, news shows, are doing exactly what the studios want because they're like, well, we don't want our other people that are not writers to suffer. Like they have jobs and we got to come back. And I don't know. Granted, I know some of those shows are just like open talk forums. So it's not really got writers. So I can see a perspective where it's like, okay, we can still work. We're just not going to have writers to do like bits or whatever,
Yeah.
which is fair. But again, I think it moots your point when you say you support the writer strike, but you're coming back. You know what I mean?
Especially since the whole Drew Barrymore thing, like people were getting kicked out that had WGA
Yeah.
pins and stuff. Like it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're on the wrong side here. You're not looking great. And
Yeah.
like she tried to like make the announcement of like, oh, whoever's getting kicked out gets to come in free the next time they come around and blah
Mm-hmm.
blah type thing.
Yeah. It doesn't like what blows my mind is Hollywood people don't understand like image, which is really weird. Cause I'm like, dude, y'all have some y'all don't understand like your PR team suck. Like they're not up to date with like you need to get somebody that's young on your PR team. I'm talking about like 20
Yeah.
because they'll be like, oh, dude, this is what pisses off people nowadays. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, because I think there's just so many people that are just I don't know, they're either in a bubble or they just don't know how you can come off looking bad, even though you might have an argument that is valid. Like I said, like, oh yeah, well, these other people are losing the lighting guys, like they're not part of I mean, they're probably part of a union, but like, you know what I mean? Like the lighting guys, the set guys, like all of them are suffering because of the strike. Like that sucks for them, you know. I can understand that argument. That's a fair argument.
Yeah.
Um, but like I don't you can't save face and be like, I support the strike and then be like, oh, but we're coming back, you know? So I don't know. It's a really weird situation. It's gonna delay every movie. DC just can't catch a break. Like
No.
they just can't catch a break because Superman will probably be delayed. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like James Gunn's gonna do everything in his power to make it happen because that's like his dad's birthday or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Unless he pushes it a whole year if he really wants that date, which would be insane. So, yeah, I don't know, man. But at the moment, though, are we really excited about anything to get rushed out? You know what I mean? I'm not excited about these rumors of which have been debunked of Timothy Chalamet as Robin in the Batman. So, you know, or no, actually it was Brave and the Bold is apparently
Yeah.
what he was going to be Robin for. I told this to Clay when I don't know what we were watching last, Blue Beetle.
Mhm.
I don't think Timothy Chalamet's a great actor. I feel like he's just a guy trying to act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
So,
like I haven't seen Dune, and I
mhm,
know like Dune is like one of those like cult classic franchises,
yeah.
and apparently this new iteration was like the best movie or the best sci-fi movie that year or whatever. Um I just don't get the appeal of the actor.
Yeah.
Um and even before then, I don't know what he was in before that. Like he's never been an actor that has been on my radar,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, the thing is it's weird cuz I could have saw or could have I don't know. It might have been him cuz I'm assuming he's like the new heartthrob, he's the new, you know, big guy on campus. I want to say there was an article or at least a headline that said Leonardo DiCaprio told him no superhero movies. Like if you want to be like the big guy in
Yeah.
Hollywood. So that would just kill this rumor anyways. Unless he was just
Mhm.
like a huge nerd and he's like, no, fuck what Leonardo DiCaprio says. Like, I want to be, you know,
Yeah.
Robin. I just don't think he'd be good in either of them. You know what I mean? I just don't think he's a great actor. I'm sorry. Maybe it's Wonka and Dune, but like everybody that I've seen on screen with him outshines him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He just seems like he's trying to act, especially in Wonka. Like in Wonka, he just seems like he's trying to do. He's a Wish version of what's his face,
Gene Wilder.
Gene
Yeah.
Wilder. So like you just, I don't know, man. That's the one thing that I'd be really scared to take on an iconic character. Like you can do Batman, right? Like there's gonna always be a different type of Batman,
Yeah.
but like there's only like one Wonka. Like Depp went like extremely different, which is apparently more towards the books. I haven't read the book, so I don't know. But his was so different that you're like, okay, that's like, the same. He's just trying to be Wilder.
Yeah,
And
and a lot of people, even like when the debut of the trailer came out, just feel like he is very cringe in that trailer.
yeah, I agree. And here's the thing that I've learned. When you're going to do like a weird character, you have to have the right person to deliver that dialogue. And I don't think he's the right person, because I was watching Scott Pilgrim. I don't think anybody can do Scott Pilgrim. Nobody else can play that character besides Michael Cera. Like they just can't. And like I was also watching, because I don't know why it just came across my YouTube feed. It was like all the fights from Scott Pilgrim. I was like, I'll watch that. And so like I was watching the base fight with Brandon Roth. And Brandon Roth is so good in that role.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As the fucking vegan. And so like it's just so good. And I don't know if anybody else could play that role too, because like Brandon Roth had like this big size. He was over like powering to fucking.
It was right after his Superman era, so he was still like so stocky.
Yeah, and then just the way he plays like the idiot, and it's like, you are incorrigible. He's like, I don't even know the meaning of the word. It's just like so good. I don't know, man. So like I just don't. I would hate Timothy Chalamet as a Robin, especially Robin. He's way too old. Like, if he's playing Damien, like maybe Drake, But
I could possibly see him playing Drake. But he could not be playing Damien. No way.
Not at all. It's unfortunate, unless they want a gender bend. I would say get that chick that's been in Barbie and is every other popular character right now.
Yeah, like she has been popping off.
Yeah.
She got started. Cassandra. She got started as a Disney kid.
Yeah. It's wild. She's been everything lately. So pretty crazy stuff for her. I don't know what they would. I think they would probably. She's the only one that could play Orphan, but I think they're gonna want to probably keep Orphan, Asian. So which is her, like, I mean, because they need to recast her, because she was terrible in Birds of Prey.
Yeah,
like not that girl. And I think that girl, like, didn't she have like martial arts background too? And they didn't even do any of that shit.
Yeah, I mean, it was that, and her stunt double was like that was the big thing that we had covered, was like the stunt double had like a crazy IMDb when it comes to like martial arts stuff, and we're like, oh shit, we're gonna get like the legit Cassandra. Like this is gonna be awesome. And then it ended up being nothing.
What did she do that involved stunt doubling? I don't really remember that much from that movie. So
nothing really. It was just her running away a whole bunch.
Yeah. You just stunt double for running away. What did you do? Just the standstill scenes? I don't know. Either way, I do think there's gonna be a whole recasting of the Bat Family. I feel like there was, I don't know if I covered this rumor, but there were, or if we covered this a while back, a lot of rumors of I think we did. It was John Krasinski was the rumor of Batman, right?
Batman,
like, no. And then I think King posted this in Discord, where my pick for Batman has been offered, apparently, the Reed Richards role.
Yeah, from Mr. Fantastic, Jake Gyllenhaal. It's so I think you're going to like this piece of internet news lately. My Time to Shine seems to be losing her grips. And the reason being is apparently she is getting paid bukus of money now to put stuff out there. Every single like this, along with like some Star Wars stuff that it didn't end up being true, like for that one scoop, that one Star Wars scoop, Ahsoka scoop, that now is not true. Everybody's questioning her now. So now she is
you heard it first.
she is unreliable source. We think that it's all for money now, and so it's just like,
Yeah.
if you get it right, you get it right. But you are wrong until proven right.
Yeah.
It's not right until you're proven wrong this
Yeah,
time around.
pat myself on the back. I called that so long ago. I've been saying I even mentioned this on last week's podcast. I was like, I just don't think they're that great. And yeah, they were so wrong about a lot of the DCU stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but people are like, oh no, let me know. Oh, I saw it a long time ago, my time to shine. So that doesn't surprise me. I think again, Scooper's like I don't know if RPK even has a good track record anymore. I don't know how he's been. I think he got quiet for a while, so I feel like maybe
He's been quieter,
yeah.
but he has still been throwing some stuff out there.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know. I take all Scooper. I mean, I don't follow any of them, but I've started muting a lot of words on Twitter recently. CM Punk being one of them. I am so tired of hearing about that dude. So I muted that. I've muted a bunch of shit recently. That's just like really annoying. Because I'm tired of signing it. I haven't seen Snyder stuff in like a week or so, which is interesting. But anyway, so yeah, I don't know. But speaking of the one thing we actually have to talk about, which is and I believe this drops today, the Aquaman trailer
Yeah.
dropped a teaser. I'm not gonna lie to you, Clay. That thing didn't look bad. Looked
No,
pretty interesting.
I don't think it looked horrible. Um, I think some freeze frames, if you pause it at the right
Mhm.
time, it looks kind of bad. Because a lot of people were like, "Oh, they showed Amber Heard. They showed Amber Heard." It's not Amber Heard.
No.
It's Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
That is in the trailer.
I don't know if this is a diss to Nicole Kidman. I thought she was one of the people from the trench when I saw
Well,
it.
so that's the thing. So
Yeah.
that's one of the parts that looks kind of
Yeah.
bad. It's like just the CGI and the way like
Mhm.
the water is flowing in her face and stuff. It doesn't look great.
Yeah.
And that was one of the moments where I kind of like paused the teaser to kind of look at everything, and I was like, ooh, that doesn't
Yeah.
look great. Um, but yeah, there was even somebody I saw on Twitter that said, um, as as a supposed horrible film,
Mhm.
why does this teaser have some of the best shots I've seen all year in
Yeah.
movies?
I saw that tweet too.
And it looks vibrant. It looks good. It looks how the first one did,
Yeah.
which is good. Some people were upset, like the very first frame of the teaser
Mhm.
is like a reuse of the
Yeah.
first film. Movies do that.
Yeah.
Trailers do that. Like this is not anything new. I immediately recognized it. I was like, okay, whatever.
Mhm.
Because all the other footage was something from the new film, and
Yeah.
that's what, like, if they had used several different shots from the
Mhm.
first movie, I would have been like, oh no, like
Yeah.
why, like why are they doing this? Uh, but it looks good. Black Manta still looks good. The Aquaman suit still looks comic accurate.
Mhm.
There's a giant freaking seahorse in this one. Like,
Yeah. There's like a BioShock looking type of mech in there,
oh
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
cool. That looks pretty badass. Yeah, so like it from that tease trailer, it doesn't look bad. I'm assuming the trailer is going to come out during Thursday Night Football tonight.
Probably, yeah.
So be on the lookout for that if you're listening to this podcast before then. Because that's what I would assume. It looked pretty solid to me. At this point, if I'm entertained while watching it, I'll consider it a win. Just kind of how it was
Yeah.
with Black Adam. Like Black Adam, I was like, as long as I don't walk out hating it, fine to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Wasn't the greatest film, but I also didn't hate it. Like, I thought the action was solid. So I'm excited. I mean, but going from there, right? A lot of people, I believe, asked James Wan, or I don't know where this came from exactly, but there was somebody asked him if Batman is going to be in this film, and the quote was, "The best thing I could say about this movie is that it is not connected in any way to any of those films. That's the bottom line because James Wan said so." So, yeah,
Okay, I can understand the sentiment of the first one felt like its own original movie. Like
mhm,
it didn't lean heavily on any of the bigger plot points of like the Justice League
yeah,
or whatever. The Steppenwolf was mentioned in the very
Mhm.
beginning of Aquaman. And then after that, it was only an Aquaman movie.
Mhm.
So that statement isn't too bad, but with there being now a completed universe with DC at this point, or
Mhm.
the DCEU as it's ending, like you would think, okay, like it still is connected, like, and from what we had seen and heard,
Mhm.
there was several connections to the greater DCEU with Batman in several cameos in this movie,
Yeah.
and now it's completely gone. Like you can't say that it is completely on its own,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I mean, with the reshoots, maybe, because we don't know what was reshot. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So maybe it was originally going to be that way, and then now it's no longer. I want to see if we're going to be able to tell. That's my question.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Will it be like, oh, that felt like something should have been there? Because then that'll be like, that's probably where a Batman scene was. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I don't know. We'll see what happens. I wonder if those scenes will be on the extra, deleted stuff or whatever. Because
yeah.
I doubt they spin, if they, I don't know, they would have had to have been animated already, right? Like more than if there's CGI in them, which I doubt there was. But I don't know. I'll be very curious to see what those extra footage are, even if it is just green screen stuff. But so yeah, nothing to do with the everything with the DC universe Snyder cut era as people will probably know it as. Um but I don't know. Like, do you think he says that because Aquaman may or may not be in the DCU?
I don't think that is the reason. I just think it's really funny. I saw this post saying duality of reporting, and there is a post here from Geek Vibes Nation that says James Wan denies that Amber Heard's screen time was cut from Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom.
Mhm.
It says here the first Aquaman was Arthur and Mara's journey. The second movie was always going to be Arthur and Orm. But months prior,
Mhm.
from the Hollywood Handle, it says Amber Heard's role in Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom has been reduced after reshoots, confirms James Wan.
Hmm. That's funny.
So it's like I I think that this has been a little bit of a mess. I did
Mhm.
post that Casey Walsh tweet in the Discord that like he has said that this has been messed with more so than what Justice League had been.
Mhm.
Um in in retrospect of like reshoots and stuff. So it's like we know how that turned out. Like
Yeah.
we should be worried about how this is going to turn out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I mean, I do think Justice League was probably different though, because it had so many people in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And also they were trying to make it be like another film. They were trying to make it be like Avengers, whereas this is just Aquaman. So I don't know if it'll be as bad, but depending on how much of Batman and Mira they took out, might make it feel disjointed.
Yeah.
So it's possible. I'm I don't know, man. Like this movie is gonna have to be really bad for me to believe all the scoopers.
Mhm.
Like, if you're saying people were walking out, like, and this was like a what do they say it like consistent thing that happened at all the screenings or all the screenings were bad or whatever, poorly received. I mean, maybe it's just like really bad when it comes to the comedy. Maybe that's what people think are dumb. Maybe
Mhm.
it's a bunch of like dick and poop jokes that people are annoyed with or something. I don't know. Like, we'll see. But I think, Jason Momoa of all people has like he has the power to win people over. I mean, it's what people said was the best thing in Fast and Furious 10 was Jason Momoa.
And that was something that I was going to bring up is the fact that like as somebody myself
Mhm.
being an individual that doesn't care about the Fast franchise whatsoever,
Mhm.
Momoa made that movie more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like made it watchable.
Mhm.
I mean that last scene, oh my god.
Yeah.
But like I agree with you. I think him being in it is like that is the ticket seller. That's going to put butts in seats, is the fact that
Yeah.
Jason Momoa is in it. So I
Yeah.
think you already have a good sales number for your first weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting people either back into the theater to watch it again, or having the word of mouth to get people to keep watching it.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big thing.
Yeah, I'm curious because like this is the dilemma. Do you think Momoa is hoping this movie does bad because that means he's Lobo? Like for sure? Because if this movie, let's just say, and I don't think this is gonna happen. Let's say this movie actually becomes really profitable. Like I'm talking about like 600 million to a billion range. Like DC is gonna see that as a win. You know what I mean? They're gonna be
Yeah.
like, people like Momoa as Aquaman. We need to keep him as Aquaman. You
And
know?
that's what I'm curious about, because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had this question with the Flash, with Blue Beetle. You know,
Mm-hmm.
our biggest question for the Flash was, do they keep Miller?
Yeah.
Do they have to keep him
Yeah.
because of how the movie ended? Uh, was he likable enough? Was he a big enough piece of the heart of the film to warrant keeping him for the DCU? With Sholo, with Jaime Reyes, like,
Mhm.
okay, we know that he's the first, DCU character that we
Mhm.
have seen, but are they going to keep Sholo? Like,
Yeah.
I think that you have to look into perspective of the money, like you
Mhm.
really do, but it's also a part of James Gunn's plan.
Yeah.
Was it James Gunn's plan to keep Momoa as Aquaman? Was it
Yeah.
James Gunn's plan to keep Ezra as the Flash?
Mhm.
Because if it's not, like, I like it's going to be very interesting, the first few qualms that we hear about when it comes to Zaslav and Gunn butting heads. Like,
Yeah.
are we ever going to hear those at
Mhm.
all?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. I don't think Aquaman's in the plans. I don't know. Do you also think like how James Gunn was like, we have 20, well, we're assuming it's 25 projects, right? In chapter one. Do you think he just said that in case any of these movies were a success? You know?
Maybe. I mean, just to be careful, to be like,
Yeah.
hey, if like all of these are hits, we can do all sequels to this, and they just jump into the universe that I'm creating.
Yeah.
I could see it.
Yeah, I'm curious if I do think the writer's strike is going to be an excuse for a lot of people. Like they're going to be, if somebody's like, "Well, you said there was going to be 25 projects." You're like, "Yeah, well, the writer's strike and the actor strike kind of like put us off time, so we nixed some projects, yada yada." You know what I mean? Like that
Hmm.
could be an excuse in the future. Um but yeah, I don't know, man. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. But we'll find out how Aquaman looks tonight when the trailer comes out, and we'll more than likely talk about it next week. But that movie comes out in 2 months. Oh, I always feel like it's October already. It comes out in 3 months.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it is then. But anyways, that is all the news. Like there was not much going on this week. If you care about Disney Plus, they're raising their prices. If you care about anime, Attack on Titan, the final season, part 3, part 2, is going to be released in November. So yeah, I've been watching a lot of anime lately, like I always am. I'm still continuing Jujutsu Kaisen. That shit don't get good until episode like 22. So, in my opinion, it is the most unpaced anime I've seen in a long time. Like, it's so weird. The pacing is so odd. Like, have you
I,
watched
s-
it?
I still haven't seen it, so
Okay.
I
Yeah.
can't really
It's
comment
so
on it. But
weird,
I
dude.
think it's so funny that you have been like, I don't know, man. I don't know about this
Yeah.
whole Jujutsu Kaisen thing.
It's
So
like, because you know me, like I will be like, I don't know how it's gonna be. I do it with King, I do it with everybody else, I do it with anything like, well, not King, but like with Zadarsky and Howard. I don't know if it's good, but if it's good, it's good. I'll be like, yeah, that's actually pretty good. But like I was expecting like Attack on Titan, Demon Slayer levels of good, you know,
yeah,
and it just seems like your basic shonen anime that's animated slightly better.
yeah.
But it gets interesting at around episode 22. But people usually drop animes like 10 episodes in. Usually
Yeah.
I do, but I was like, people tell me it's good. I got to keep watching. I'm caught up now, and I'm just like, still waiting. So, like, when is it like amazing? The fights are cool though. As you get old, like as you get on, um, but like, you know how people talk shit about Dragon Ball Z, how it like takes forever for them to like
Mhm.
upgrade or whatever. A lot of these people are just like OP, like from the start, and I'm like, it's kind of annoying. Like, I want to see them upgrade, but they're like, they learn shit so fast. And I'm like, bro, what's going on here? I don't know. I don't know. I'm very
Well,
nitpicky with that show.
I will say before we jump onto the questions, rumor has it that New York Comic Con is going to have an announcement for Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Well, here's the thing. They said Dragon Ball. So, like, is it just always known as I mean, we know it as Dragon Ball Z because that's probably what we grew up on. But like, it's always known as Dragon Ball, right? So, is it going to be like, is the thing still called Super, the current manga run?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it'll probably be like Super's next part, unless it's another movie, which I hope it's not.
I hope it's not another movie. I
Yeah.
hope that they want to finally continue the series.
Yeah. The series, the last time the anime aired, we were still working at our old job.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
almost 5 years ago, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy. But I will say, it looked fucking great.
Yes,
So
it
if
did.
they're taking their time on it, I will wait as long as they. We waited what, like 20 years for it to come back. So like, we're not picky, okay? Dragon Ball fandom can be crazy, but we want the best. So, anyways, so that's what I've been up to. But let's go ahead and move over to some viewer questions on the YouTube, because we're not in Discord. Clay, his sickness got the best of him. He didn't post the question this week.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
So we got on the YouTube is Moncray says, if Joker were transported to the Marvel universe, what hero would he obsess over? Spider-Man, I feel like.
Spider-Man or Daredevil. It's very cliche to think those
Yeah.
two, but I
Yeah.
think it would be those two.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Spider-Man's more of the goody two-shoes, so I feel like he'd probably go after him. But Daredevil is the more like Batman character.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
I honestly think that it would be Daredevil
Mhm.
until he found Spider-Man. It would be like,
Mm,
"Oh, you're a bat, just like the Batman." And so
yeah.
he would just be like, "You're not Batman," and fuck with him a little bit, and then he would see what like who Spider-Man is at the core of his
Yeah.
character and be like, "Oh, that's who I want."
Yeah, yeah. It would be interesting. I did a video on this on TikTok a while back, but people were like, if Joker was in the Marvel universe, Punisher would take care of him quickly. I'm like, you don't know who the fucking Joker is then. Because
Yeah.
like Punisher's a guy with a gun. Like, you know what I mean? Granted, I know he does more, but Joker's taken on some of the worst people in the DC universe that would probably destroy Punisher. So, he's able to go toe to toe with Batman, and we know factually that Batman beats Punisher. It happened in the crossover.
Yeah.
So, you're saying he would just take out Joker. You're wrong. Next up, we got Tiny Beauty. If another Batman show akin to Gotham appears, would you guys review it on the channel? Yeah, for sure.
we
Not
we we review any show that's Batman related that pops up. I
we didn't
think
do Gotham Knights though.
we didn't do Gotham Knights. We didn't do Pennyworth.
Yeah.
But we are planning to do Penguin, which
Yeah.
is probably the most like Gotham that we will see. And we plan on doing all the other stuff that is connected to the Reeves verse
Yeah.
that they're trying to put on Max.
Yeah, Pennyworth was just one of those shows that was on like a random ass website or whatever
I think it
that
was on
wasn't.
Epics or something.
Yeah, that I didn't even know how you got it. So like we didn't watch that. It did get transferred to Max eventually, but it wasn't really like super Batman related. You know what I mean? Like it was just, granted it was Pennyworth, but you weren't going to hear any Batman references or anything like that. I guess maybe they might have like hinted at stuff in the show, but it just didn't give off the vibe that it was going to be Batman centric. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gotham Knights just looked awful, like from
Yeah.
day one. And we were like, dude, we already shit on Titans and we already shit on these other shows. We don't even need to watch that. And it's canceled now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like, we kind of already knew that was going to happen. But no, if it's like a show that has good production, we'll cover it. We're going to cover the Amazon show when it comes out. We'll cover Penguin, and we'll cover it until we're like, yeah, this show's not that great, and
Yeah.
then we'll stop. It's how we do things. But and I watched I watched every season of Gotham, but like I just stopped. I thought it was bad when it got to season 3-ish, and then season 4 and 5 I thought were really bad. So, it is what it is, but we will cover it if there is a new show out. Nathan says, what Batman title would you read just based off the title? Catwoman, Apocalypse Heist, Nightwing, The Wedding, Red Hood, King of the Underworld, Batman, A Long Christmas. I mean, out of all of these, who's writing A Long Christmas is what I would ask. Because if it's Loeb, I'm reading it.
Apocalypse Heist doesn't sound very appealing to me.
No.
Red Hood, King of the Underworld scares me.
Yeah.
Nightwing or Batman are my top choices.
Yeah, I would probably go The Wedding, depending on who's like. If it's just off title, I don't know the writer or anything like that, I'd be like Nightwing Wedding. But the cover matters. Is it Barbara or is it Starfire?
Ooh.
Because if it's Barbara, I'm picking it up. If it's Starfire, I'll pass. I like Starfire, but not over Barbara.
But what if the cover is like the what is it when it's not like the real thing up front? What's the phrasing I'm looking for?
I have no idea.
Yeah. But like, what if it's actually the wedding of him and Barbara, but the cover shows Starfire?
I don't know. That I would say that's really bad marketing, because you're gonna turn off one part of the audience, right? You know what I mean? It's like what happened with King's Run, right? Everybody thought they were gonna get married, and they fucking didn't get married.
And then they didn't get
Everybody's
married.
pissed. So DC should learn from that and not do that.
True.
But if both of them were on there, instant pickup. I'm like, this dude's gonna get a throuple. Oh shit! I'm gonna read that. It's DC. They do whatever they want, right? But no, I if it's just straight up that, I'd probably go The Wedding. But if the writer was Loeb for A Long Christmas, that would be my first pick. So
I like the title.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised they haven't done something like that before. But I do feel like if you start doing every holiday like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The
long Thanksgiving, the long Easter.
Yeah, like you're just not gonna. It's not gonna be good. So I don't know. Like it'd be bad. But all right, moving on. Eduardo de la Cruz. Him and his scripts, man. All right, I can say they're getting kind of long. Okay, Tom King, Juice. Okay, Tom King, did you really have to make Batman and Joker canonically kiss? They didn't do that. So now you're just writing falsities. Clay says, yeah, was it complex symbolistic metaphor for something? Chuckles, well, truth about stories is, well, that's all we are. Wait, what? That's all we are. From riddles to jokes, you really got to ask yourself in the moment who would win. Etrigan versus Chainsaw Man, the Joker versus Light Yagami, Wonder Woman versus Gore? Who's that? Gorr? I don't know who that is.
Gore.
Joker's beating Light's ass. Nobody knows Joker's name. So like
Gore is the Gore the God Butcher. He is from Marvel. Recently he was in Thor Love and Thunder, played by Christian Bale. He had the symbiote sword at one point. Really cool character. Really cool like character design. I would go Wonder Woman for sure on that one.
Yeah, I'd go Wonder Woman. The Joker, a lot of people would think, oh, well, Light would figure out his name, but like people don't really know his name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think Jeff Johns said that in Three Jokers, did he? Did he try to give him a name?
I don't remember. I don't believe so.
Yeah. So like a lot of people are like, oh, it's Jack Napier. And, like, look, we don't care about White Knight. All right, we don't go with White Knight around here. That's off the rails kind of storytelling there. And I forgot what was the other one that they try to give him his name. What was his other name?
Um,
It was like something really generic. I feel like Phil Collins.
yeah, I can't
Yeah,
remember off the top of my head.
it was something ridiculous, but like Light would never get his real name, so Joker would end up killing him.
Yeah,
Um, Etrigan versus Chainsaw Man, though. Etrigan can technically die, or no?
technically, I believe so.
Chainsaw Man, from what I've read, has yet to do that. So, and I'm telling y'all, when people read ahead in Chainsaw Man, his power, insane. So that's all I can say. Like, I can't spoil it. I'm just gonna say he's gonna get crazy. So I would go Chainsaw Man.
Yeah,
Like,
I think Chainsaw Man would win this one.
yeah,
Because we have seen Etrigan die before.
yeah,
So
yeah. So yeah, I gotta go Chainsaw Man because like even if you've just seen the anime, like Chainsaw Man has like fought an infinite monster already, which is crazy. And he lives off blood. So if Etrigan bleeds, I'm pretty sure. I think we know that. And so, he would just use Etrigan's blood. Like he would cut him up and, depending, especially where they're fighting, Chainsaw Man would just kill something and get blood and like, oh yeah, let me just fuck these people up.
yeah.
So yeah, I would definitely say that. So we got Clay says, what fight from the comics would be most badass if done in movies? Batman and Catwoman versus Joker and Harley, Superman versus Lobo, Deathstroke versus the JLA, Superboy Prime versus Teen Titans, Wonder Woman versus Darkseid. Most badass. So not most hype, because I think most hype is Catwoman, Batman versus Joker, Harley.
Yeah.
But most badass.
I don't know how long it's been since you've read it, but the story of Infinite Crisis, Teen Titans did fight Superboy Prime, and it was a bloodbath.
I didn't see that. Oh, I don't remember it at least.
I think that one would be like probably the most badass. If not Wonder Woman versus Darkseid.
Is Darkseid actually gonna fight? Is what I'm curious about. Like they have to do it like actual Darkseid fighting, because like they always just have him standing there stoically. Let me shoot my laser beams. Like it's just like no, I want to see him fucking throw down.
Yeah, because like if you guys have ever seen the Superman Batman Public Enemies, or not Public Enemies, it was Apocalypse War, the animated movie. There's a moment where Superman, Supergirl, and Darkseid fight. That's a badass fight because Supergirl goes all in on Darkseid.
So yeah, I would think most badass fight. I mean, you could do something with Deathstroke versus the JLA.
Yeah,
that might look pretty cool. But I think kind of a Superman fight going all out would probably be the most exciting kind of thing. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But I think the most hype would probably be the Batman one. But I think I don't know. You could probably do some really cool stuff with Deathstroke and the JLA. To be honest, so I'd probably go Deathstroke to be honest, because it's not too CGI heavy, maybe, and you could still do some really cool shit.
Well, like I'm just remembering the fight of Identity Crisis, where like he blew out the kneecap of the Flash, and like freaking Green Arrow freaking shot an arrow in his eye, and like all sorts of shit.
Yeah,
that's the fight that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty badass. So I would probably go Deathstroke personally. Jason Todd says, if Poison Ivy controls the green, what Batman villains would make the most sense to control red, the black, and the clear? Grundy already controls the gray, I think. You know what? I have no knowledge in the colors.
I have no knowledge of the red and the clear.
Yeah. So I don't know if those are...
I would not be able to tell you off the top of my head, Jason. Let me do some research.
What's
on
the black?
These. The black, I believe, is death.
Oh, okay.
I believe.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
remember what the red is and what the clear is. I can't say I've heard these references, but I've heard the green plenty of times. Um, but yeah, I don't know. So I couldn't answer this question for you.
so it's the metaphysics, the green, the red, the clear, the gray, the black, and the speed force is
Oh,
what
okay.
this is. So it says here, looking at it now, the red, oh, that's right. The red is the animal life. So Animal Man. There was a
Hmm.
huge crossover uh in the New 52
Hmm.
dealing with Animal Man and Swamp Thing. That's right. I remember this now. It says here, unlike the green, many heroes can access the red field network simultaneously. Heroes of the red are Animal Man, Vixen, the Bawana Beast, Beast Boy, and it's the red consists of energy of every animal that has ever lived on Earth.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so penguin probably the red. He'd use all the birds,
Yeah.
you know. Unless, oh, maybe a croc because he's half would probably be somebody that's like really good,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that would be pretty cool.
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
And then what's the like clear and black
So
or
the clear is also known as the blue. It says
that doesn't make
it's
any sense.
for sea life. If you've ever wondered how Aquaman can communicate with all of the creatures of the deep, this is how he does it. Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman, through genetic birthright as King of Atlantis, can tap into the clear's morphogenic field.
Mm.
Yeah.
Orca, killer orca or killer shark or king shark, one of those would probably be all the blue, right? Or the clear. And the
Yeah.
black
The
was
black
what?
is known as the rot. So
Oh, okay.
it is exactly what you think it is. It's the network of the rotten dead things. So I was right. It was
Okay.
the dead.
I'd go doll maker, pig, those kind of dudes.
Yeah.
Because they're killing people already. So yeah, there's that. And last we got Alexis Barrera that says, I feel like the community tab on this channel can bring in more views. There are many creators I have found that on posted memes, updates, polls, and trivia alone, which I feel would help if everyone now and then. What do you guys think? So I will check right now. I don't think we have access to that because I think you gain access to that when you get a certain amount of subscribers. I will check right now though. I don't think we can make community posts. And if we can, then I'll be like, oh shit, maybe we should start doing
Like
that.
I've seen some creators that I am subscribed to use the community tab.
Yeah.
Not very often.
Mhm.
They mostly use, of course, their other social media to do so. But
Yeah.
every once in a while, I'll see a post from YouTube make its way onto my notifications. So I think it
We
would be.
actually can. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, maybe we could post some memes and stuff, see where that's going. Good suggestion. I was under the impression that you didn't gain access to this until like later on, like 500 subs or something. But yeah, maybe we'll start using this. We'll do some polls and stuff. Good shout, Alexis Barrera. Alexis, you know what? Since you came up with this idea, on the next podcast, tell us what our first post should be.
Yeah.
If you got a question or a poll or something, we will use your question or poll for the first thing on our community tab. So, yeah, thank us for letting us know that. I was under the impression we had to hit some other milestones before we got that. So, awesome. But that is the last comment we have for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. So, we are going to be moving on to comics now, which I liked some comics this week, and some other ones I thought were kind of cringe. Um,
Yeah.
you know. So first of all, let's just get the honorary Tom King book out of the way because I feel like I've been doing a disservice to Tom King. I read his books last after a whole bunch of comics, and it's like the last thing I want to do because I'm like, I know he has a lot of writing in his books, and I'm just like, dude, I kind of want to go to sleep. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like skimming his book. So I'm doing a disservice. But it didn't look like I missed much in this book, Clay. it was a fight. It literally a fight the whole 38-ish pages or whatever it is, and a talk between two characters.
Yeah, of course, this is the Manhunter and the bodyguard.
Yeah.
Um, this unfortunately was all that it was.
Yeah.
There was a lot of setup last issue, and I thought we were going to touch up on a lot of that, and there was nothing except for this one fight. And it's just a lot of, oh, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. Oh, I'm a better fighter than you. No, I'm the better fighter than you. Oh,
Yeah.
well, does that mean that we are equals? Is this a fair fight? Is it not a fair fight? Hey, how about we leave this all to a coin toss? Well, that
Yeah.
coin toss is unfair because it's your coin and blah, 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 blah. And he goes
Mhm.
back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And like you could say that there is like some sort of like a very intellectual conversation in the midst of this,
Yeah.
but it was just so much
Mhm.
dialogue.
Yeah. And the fighting wasn't that exciting. It was
No.
kind of boring.
Yeah.
And the one thing I will say is I mentioned this to Clay before we started recording. Tom King has essentially thrown out his no talking during fighting rule. Like he started doing it a little bit in Batman.
Mhm.
Like there was some fighting, but there was that one issue in Batman when he went after KG Beast and he was not talking
Yeah.
at all. Batman was just pissed. He was just like beating the shit out of him. You know what I mean? So I don't know what's happened there. I think it's one of those things where he learned that if I stick with that rule, I lose so much space to tell my story. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I always agreed with that rule. I actually liked it. Granted, I'm not gonna hold myself to that rule. You know what I mean? Like because sometimes you need space, and
Yeah.
sometimes they might talk during a fight. But I think you write it into the story, like Batman throws somebody through a window, and like that's when he starts talking because they're not fighting. He just threw him
Yeah.
through a window, pauses the fight a little bit, and then they start fighting again or whatever. I think that's how you should write it.
Yeah.
But comics has always done this, so it's not the biggest thing. But it is something. It is odd that Tom King has talked about it, and then now he's going against it. You know what I mean? So I find that a bit funny. But the book essentially ends with them both dead.
Yeah. They're both dead. Manhunter gets his leg chopped off. They both get stabbed,
Yeah,
either in the abdomen or straight through the chest. Um, and they are still squabbling even when they're dead. They're just like, oh well, I guess it's a tie. Well, is it really a tie because I got you first and blah blah
yeah,
blah. Yeah, it's very odd. It doesn't really move the plot at all.
no,
This is just one of those issues, like I said, that King was like, oh, I really want to like have something deep and emotional and intellectual in this
hmm,
issue. And it just didn't grab my attention as much as I think he wanted it to.
yeah. I think I understand the like 8 panel grids and 9 panel grids that King likes to do. I think you can still do those and get exciting with it and get creative. You know what I mean? And I feel like that didn't happen here. Maybe it's because he wanted to tell a lot of story, but I think you could have done like maybe the sword reaching across the panel into the next panel would have been kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that.
get a little
Or
bit
like,
more interesting with it. Yeah.
yeah, maybe have him slam somebody down through the panel into the next panel. That would be kind of cool.
Well,
You
like
know?
at one point, the Manhunter is like falling.
Yeah.
Uh, I would have appreciated like him like the 6 or 4 panels on the right side be the
The
building,
building?
and
Yeah.
then like him falling be each of
Yeah.
the panels on the other side, on the left hand side. I think that would have been really interesting,
Yeah,
but
like, get creative
he
with it.
didn't play along with that at all.
No. And, King is somebody that does like to let the artist kinda create. He just like, "This is panel 1, this is panel 2, panel 3." Now, granted, you have to write that in your script. You have to be like, "Yo, page 14 is an 8 panel grid, but the 4 panels on the right are the building, and he's falling through the other 4 panels," you know?
Yeah.
So you have to write that in your scripts, but, yeah, this was just one massive fight, ladies and gentlemen. There's not really much to talk about. It was a big conversation between 2 warriors, and they're going to fight even in the afterlife. It's because it's what they do. And that's basically the story. So, yeah, not the greatest thing, but like I said, I do feel like this story is one of those things that I mean, I actually stopped buying it at the comic shop, but I stopped buying all loose leaves anyways.
Yeah.
But, this is something I was like, I'll buy it when it's a trade, and I'll sit down one day and read it and just
Read
be
the whole thing
yeah,
all together.
like
Yeah.
because I do feel like it's been longer and longer between issues, kind of. But I
A
don't know if
little
that's
bit. Yeah.
true, So it is what it is. But moving on to Joker, which is still the manga series. Quick reads these manga series.
Yes.
This one, Joker has a lady friend stop by the name of Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Uh, so this was interesting to see animated Harley. We're going to be getting both of these characters, obviously drawn differently in an actual anime, which
Yeah.
is going to be the Suicide Squad Isekai, which I think is going to be pretty cool. But this was a fun story. Harley. I don't know if this is how it is, Clay. Do you have friends that are like, come hang out? You're like, I really can't. Like, I got a kid now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, you're one of them.
Yeah. We still
We
go
go
to the
see
movies though.
we go to the movies, and I'm like,
Yeah.
hey. So
Yeah.
I go to Abby. I'm like, uh, is it
Yeah.
okay if I go see a movie this week?
Yeah.
And as long as our schedules kind of play around with it, then we're good. But this is very relatable. On even on a scale of like me wanting to play an online game with a friend, it's like,
Mhm.
okay, like it wasn't the best time for you to ask me. Like
Yeah.
maybe you could have asked before, just saying, "Hey, jump on and we could play or whatever." Because Harley just busts in, like
Yeah.
she just crashes into the apartment. Glass goes everywhere. She crashes into the nursery.
Mhm.
Baby Batman is right there in his crib, and Joker's like, "Are you freaking kidding me right now?" Like he is just now crawling and his stomach touches the floor when he crawls. I don't
Yeah.
need him cutting himself. Clean up after yourself. And so she has to freaking sweep everything up and everything.
Mhm.
She is washing her hands because he's a newborn. Like, please, that was a big thing for us. That
Yeah.
was, and I think still is, especially now that we are getting over COVID. It's like everybody washes their hands.
Yeah.
Everybody. And even some of our family members has been like, I'm clean. It's like,
Mhm.
I don't care. I need to
Yeah.
see you wash your hands.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah, nasty.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. So yeah, that's pretty much how it is. And so Harley is just obviously she hasn't spent time with Joker, so she's like, "Oh, we don't go out and do our crazy stuff." And he's just being dad, right? And then she's there, she's able to make Batman laugh and stuff like that, and and she's helping, she's like taking care of him, and then he's like, "Hey, you need to be quiet. I already got a noise complaint from the landlord and stuff." And it's so weird to see Joker just dealing with everyday people stuff, which I think
Yeah.
this is what this book is. It is
Yeah.
essentially a slice of life in DC, kind of. Because like
Yeah.
everybody deals with this, if you live in an apartment, noise complaints if you are too loud or you have bad neighbors or something.
There's even a point where Harley is like, "Oh, I got the baby something." And it's like a generic like franchise toy in the
Yeah.
DC universe. And Joker's like, "No,
Yeah.
we're not giving him that because if you give it to him too early, his life becomes obsessed with it. And then
Yeah.
before you know it, we have plates and napkins and cups and
Yeah.
posters and all of this stuff. And you actually see a panel where he's kind of going crazy with it. Um, and that's also true
Mhm.
for all sorts of different things as like a kid. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you tell the story all the time that you and your brother were obsessed with Ninja Turtles and you had
Yeah.
all the toys of Ninja Turtles, right?
Mhm.
Well, for me and my brother, it was Batman and Superman the animated series, and we had all the
Mhm.
toys of that. We had like every Batmobile. We had the
Yeah.
TMNT toys as well. My One of my cousin's little kids is obsessed with Sonic, and he has everything Sonic: cups, plates, freaking backpacks. It's just something that we as humans do. We obsess over
Yeah.
these things, and it's just like, hey, I need it to consume our lives. And so I get it on that scale as well. Um, right now my child is a little too young to be
Mhm.
obsessed with anything like that right now. The biggest thing is I could say Bluey. We watch
Mhm.
Bluey all the time. But I don't think like for me, I'm not going out to buy like a stuffed animal Bluey or like
Yeah.
anything else like that, like t-shirts and stuff like that. It's like, okay, it's just the show. I'm okay with just watching the show right now. But I know when she gets older, she will want some of those things. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to brace myself for it.
Yeah. Well, you feel kind of bad for Harley here because she's trying to help, you know, and Joker's kind of a strict parent. And that's when he's telling him, like, no, you can't give him this stuff. Like, she did something out of the kindness of her heart to bring this kid a toy, right? And he rejects it, which is in line with Joker, how he treats Harley,
Yeah.
anyways. And she's just kind of, there's this panel where she's like holding the toy and like it's just like dot, dot, dot. And she's like, I'm going to take off. And he's like, okay, it is late. And, you know, he's kind of like, you know, I just can't wreak havoc with her on the streets of Gotham. You know what I mean? And there's like this one shot of her going down, holding her mallet, like dragging on the floor, like she's sulking, going away down the hallway out of his apartment. And it just feels kind of sad. But you see Joker coming back and he goes to the carpet and he finds a little shard of glass. And he's like, you know, he's just like mad about it. He's like, this is, you know, this can't happen. And he's like, I just feel like I can't have a conversation with anybody or some shit like that. And Batman's just there, like, huh? And so I think it's just, it was funny. It's a good issue. You know, it is nothing to take too seriously. It is very relatable. I can see if you are a parent. So I do think it's an interesting read for sure. I've been enjoying it. I'm curious on how it's going to, you know, come across in the actual, like, you know, are they going to serialize this as a big book or a regular manga?
I think they'll do a manga.
Okay.
When it comes to, I have the Batman the Justice League. There's a total of 3 volumes. So I
Hmm.
think with this, they'll push it out as volumes. It may be like a small series where it only reaches like maybe 3 volumes, maybe even 5.
Yeah.
But it all depends on how they are uh, getting this Japanese mangaka team
Hmm.
to write it. Like I guess it's like, hey, you only have like 25 chapters, or hey, this is an ongoing as long as it is doing well. I have no idea how it's being publicated.
Yeah. That'd be very interesting. Clay, I see the Aquaman trailer has dropped.
Yes, it has.
Okay. I think let's finish comics and then we'll maybe react to it after.
Okay.
So, moving on to the other manga that we have, which was Justice Buster number 3, Batman Justice Buster.
I'm curious to see what your opinions are, because there is an iconic character that is finally revealed at the end of this.
Yeah, in a very odd way. So they did the Batman I really don't like here, which is the like kind of full of himself Batman that is like, I like violence, kind of, you know what I mean? He's like,
Yeah.
violence is justice. Because he's trying to get recruited by Superman. I think that's how the last book ended. They're gonna be having a meeting. And Superman, you know, Batman's like, you can cut the crap. Like, I know who you are. You know what I mean? And he's like, you're trying to get me to join that little league you got. And he's like, yeah, we're called the Justice League. He's like, justice is violence. Y'all aren't a league. Or, you know, he's just like being an asshole. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't like that Batman. You know what I mean? You can be stern, you can be stoic, but like asshole Batman, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of it. So, also we have the detective character is Gordon, I guess. I don't really know. He's like heartthrobby.
So the way they make this out,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the character at the very end also.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's probably
Yeah.
right. So this is probably yeah. So there is this kid who we think is gonna be Robin. I'm assuming.
It looks definitely like a Jason Todd type
Yeah,
mute with the hood and everything.
is telling this person in a coat like, "Hey, old man, like, you know, what are you doing around here?" He's like, "Whoa, whoa." He's like, "Just because somebody's older than you doesn't mean you should be calling them old man." He's like, "All right, bro. Well, what are you doing here?" He's like, "Well, I'm not your brother." He's like, "Well, make up your mind." He's like, "What are you?" Like, you know what I mean? So like the kid's just doing this kid lingo. How did you feel about the sudden art change? Because
In Oh, so there's a moment in the very beginning where it's like a lot of heavy shading, a lot of
yes,
grays, very smooth, and then it gets to like your classic like sketch style
yeah,
of anime or manga. Um it bothered me a little bit,
yeah,
but like I love the heavy detail of the beginning of it, you know.
yeah,
I love the way that looks. It does make it feel a little lazy when it jumps to this,
yeah.
but it is something that is uh well known in manga. The
Did they
first
do
few
that in the
pages,
previous books though?
I don't know if they've done it in the previous two of this one individually,
Hmm.
but I know that it is something that is normal, quote unquote, among other manga. Like you'll have like the first two pages be really heavily detailed. And
Okay, it's
then
a mixture in the previous books too. So
yeah.
it just felt really off here. Like I was like, "Yo, that's a crazy sudden change."
Yeah.
Um, Either way though, so yeah, there's just this Batman kind of being an asshole to Superman. He's like, "I'm not going to join your team." He's like, "I'll buy your coffee though." And then Superman's like, "Oh, I was really actually supposed to interview him." And so like there's like that little cheeky moment. But Superman does say like he did point out one thing that is constantly happening or it has happened many a times is he points out he was like when you started it was only criminals and mobsters, but as you've been around, people have gotten crazier, like Mr. Freeze and all these other people. He's like, eventually, it's gonna be like Crocodile Men and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, sure. And then Batman ends up fighting Killer Croc, and
Yeah,
he's
and
like,
he's
oh,
like,
that
"Oh
guy was
wow,
right.
he called it.
Yeah.
That's crazy."
So that was kind of weird. And then he points out, like, oh, your partner in crime, which is this is a reveal at the end. He's like, I'm not associated with that person. And we don't really know what they're talking about at this point.
Well, at one point, Batman or Bruce says, "I'm not associated with him. He's a killer." And I'm
Hmm.
like, why would anybody like mistaken Batman's partner as a killer?
Yeah.
And then you see at the very end what is revealed. This threw me in for a loop here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the Joker. He beats Croc, and I believe so. Yeah,
Yeah,
he shows up.
it
Yeah.
shows like it implies that he helped take down Killer Croc.
Yeah.
And so you see Joker as a vigilante also.
Hmm.
This is weird.
Yeah, and he's wearing like a luchador mask.
He looks like, and I don't mean this to like trigger anybody,
Hmm.
but he looks like Ghostmaker. Like
Yeah,
the
a little bit.
mask looks like a Ghostmaker, like smooth mask,
Yeah.
but it's Joker with like he has like the Jokerized eyes and the smile,
Hmm.
but the suit and jacket looks similar to that of the private investigator that we saw in the very beginning, who we
Yeah.
assume is Gordon.
Yeah. Yeah, very true, very true. I didn't pick up on that when I saw it. I was just fixated on the mask. I was like, that's kind of dumb. He looks like a luchador, you know what I mean? And I like luchadors, but not Joker. You could have done a
Yeah.
better mask, in my opinion, if
Yeah.
you were trying to symbolize Joker, you know what I mean? But yeah, took a turn I wasn't expecting, but I'm interested to see where it goes. This one takes forever to come out, but it
Yeah.
is more pages too.
Hmm.
So, and it's probably why they switched up the style so much, maybe because they're like, we need to get these out faster. So you're gonna need to do more of the sketchy style. Um, but yeah, I mean, I liked it. I was very like, whoa, wasn't expecting that, and we'll see where it goes. I want to know more about the. This was the first issue that didn't have Batman really using his actual partner, which is the AI.
Yeah.
So I'm curious on what's going there. Also, I mean, I guess Batman already said that he's not partners with the Joker, so we're probably still going to see the Robin eventually happen. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in the book. It's been holding my my fancy, but I just realized now looking at the cover, we've had the tease of this Joker from day one. If you look at the cover, it switches between Batman and the Joker. I've never noticed that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because it's masked. Like, if you actually look at it, and I didn't even know the Pretty Boy was on the cover too. Like, I never paid attention to that. The Pretty Boy and the Robin are on the
Wow,
cover.
I didn't notice that either.
Yeah, so pay attention in school, kids. It might benefit you when you read comics. But yeah, next up we have I think what's the next two things? We have Teen Titans and what else am I missing?
I
Oh,
think
Rob
that's
Batman and Robin.
oh, Batman and Robin,
Yeah.
yeah.
Teen Titans. What did you think about this? I had a problem with the villain portrayal, not the villain themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's kind of tropey.
Yes,
Um, the
very tropey.
the way they went about it.
Or stereotypical is probably the better word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think stereotypical is the better phrasing here. Um, I liked the conversation between Bruce and Tim. The
Mhm.
whole thing of like, hey, you're being a responsible leader of a superhero team, so like you can't just go about and have public appearances and all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
I do like that. Um, it was a little odd that like
Uh, Dick Grayson?
yeah, Dick Grayson. Sorry, not
I was
not
all
not
like,
Tim. Sorry.
is this Tim? I was like, no
Yeah,
way. I've been thinking
sorry,
it's Dick
sorry.
Grayson. Okay, cool.
Dick Grayson.
Yeah.
Uh, but I did find it a little odd. There was no like lead up to this whole obsession over Bumblebee, and
Yes, I
a-
agree.
and so it just like it just happened, and you're like,
Mhm.
okay, like I guess we could just follow this along.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been a little bit better if there was some sort of lead up to it,
Mhm.
so then we could be like, oh, it was this person or whatever.
Yeah.
It didn't feel quite right.
Yeah, so just for some context, the Titans go to TitanCon. That's what this is. We know that this was pimped out or like, foreshadowed in other the previous issues. And so they're going to TitanCon. Dick Grayson is having that conversation that Clay mentioned with Batman. He's like, yeah, they're just exposing themselves. They're putting themselves out there. Like, that's why they shouldn't be doing that. And so as they're at this con, of course, if you've ever been to a Comic Con and you see like there's celebrities, people freak the fuck out and they're just
Hmm.
like, "Oh my god!" And the Titans are kind of getting like they're getting swarmed and whatnot, and everybody's kind of okay with it. They're like, "You got to go do a panel," and they're like, "What's a panel?" And it's just kind of like weird. And Bumblebee eventually, somebody I think it's Bumblebee, right? Is her name? They try to like rip her mask off, and she's like pissed. Like she gets super. She's like, "Nobody can do that.
Yeah.
Nobody ever can find out my identity." And I don't know why she's so like crazy about it. Like that's another thing. Like, again, you said there's no lead up. I don't know why her identity is such a big thing to her. Like, you know what I mean?
Which is
Granted,
really odd because in the previous issue, um, uh, uh, we saw that Donna Troy,
mhm,
uh, accidentally gave her identity to somebody, and it wasn't that big of a deal.
yeah,
And now with this, like, yeah, I can see how being unmasked at a convention could be kind of like traumatic or
yeah,
whatever, but she makes it such a big thing to where she is yelling at Wally like, "You
yeah,
can never let that happen." Like she gets in his face about it.
yeah. So yeah, it's like really weird. And then he does mention he's like, there's definitely a story there. And like, I mean, I guess that's you could definitely reveal this later on why that's gonna happen. And I'm assuming we're gonna learn that, but it just felt really weird. Like that she's like super like, "Oh my god." Because I think the way you could have done this better is had her been on Dick Grayson's side. Been like, "Yeah, maybe we shouldn't be doing these kind of things."
Yeah.
And then that would have made more sense because she's like, "Oh, she's showing that yeah, she doesn't want to like be in the spotlight." And so, yeah, so that was really weird. Wally does play a prank on Red Arrow, which I think is pretty funny, where he switches up his arrows, and it kind of gives off. I mean, they show this later. If he doesn't memorize his arrow placement, which I don't know how you do that in a quiver because they all move around,
Yeah.
it throws off his whole thing. You would think a skilled archer would know the weight of every arrow.
Yeah.
But maybe that's why Green Arrow is so awesome. I don't know. But I just thought that was really weird. I guess it was just a silly thing. Like, oh yeah, I threw it off. I could understand Wally giving him the wrong arrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
but just because he mixed up the quiver, everything's off. And I think it's just meant to be a funny moment. I did think it was kind of silly. But yeah, the biggest thing here is Toyman. I believe this is Toyman, right?
Well, this is Toy Boy because remember these
Oh
are
yeah,
all like
the Titan.
the Titans, and they're supposed to have like the equivalent to villains.
Yes. So Toy Boy is at home with his mother, who I believe he lives in a basement. So
Yeah.
we're gonna hit all the stereotypes here, ladies and gentlemen. He's in a basement, living with his mom, back talks his mom, and also has all these photos of Bumblebee in his room or cave or whatever. And so he sees that, first of all, you would think that he would be at Titans Con no matter what.
Already, yeah.
Yeah. But he sees that they're at TitanCon. And he has to run away and try to go find Bumblebee there. And he gets there and he's like, "Oh, you're my darling. You're my precious." So just weird, creepy con guy.
Yeah.
And look, the stereotype fits. But just because the stereotype fits doesn't mean you need to use it, you know? And so like he's creepy, he ends up using toys. He has powers that turn toys into like actual
He
like
uses
they grow.
magic, yeah.
Yeah. So he has a Batmobile that's gonna run over people. He has a Donna Troy fight Donna Troy because the Titans all have figures and stuff here at TitanCon. And so like he's having to deal with all of this. Robin just shows up. Like as his whole team is getting destroyed, he's like, "Y'all are focusing on the wrong thing. How about you tie up his hands?" And they tie up his hands and they win. Like,
Yeah.
you know, which I thought was kind of funny that like it just showed how dumb the rest of the Titans are. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the Batman problem, right? It's like,
Yes.
oh, the Justice League is nothing without Batman. Batman comes up with the plans. He comes up with like the big, like, hey, this is how we defeat them. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what they're doing with Dick Grayson. It's like, oh, because he is the Batman character here,
Mm-hmm.
he has to be the one to come up with the plan to defeat the villain.
Yeah.
And he does, and he's about to sock Toy Boy, but then Bumblebee's like, "No, I earned this one," and she like socks
Yeah.
him right in the face.
Yeah. And yeah, he's just a creepy guy, and that's what happens. And so like Mini Hawkman, bad name.
Yeah,
A really bad name.
yeah.
Dick Grayson is talking to Mini Hawkman, which, you know what? Like, what if like Hawkman causes junk that? Like, hey, this is Mini Hawkman. And now this kid's associated with that. It's like, yo, dude, you can't say that. But like, anyway, so probably the dumbest name I've heard in a long time. But he's talking to Grayson. He's like, "Yeah, a lot of pressure, huh?" And he's like, "Yep." He's like, I would have been on your side or whatever." Just kind of relating with him. He's like, "But that's kind of why I got out of the game." And so I don't like. Was he at the convention or like?
No, this is the very confusing thing, is that this is the first time we are seeing this character in this series.
Yeah. And so like it was just really weird because I'm assuming they're at the convention hall still because that's where they were. And he's talking, Mini Hawkman's talking to Grayson, and he's all like, "Yeah, man, that's why I got out." He was like, "But you seem to have a problem or you don't want to go home." And he's like, "Why?" He's like, "Because you're the only one still here." And like, where's here? At the convention?
Well,
Like,
it says Titan's lair later.
oh, later. I read that with my dyslexic brain and it said later. So I was like, Titans later. And I was like, later? All right, whatever. I didn't see the bottom part. But yeah, so Titan's lair, and he's still there. So I don't know why. If you left the superhero business, why are you hanging out at the lair? I feel like that would be kind of troublesome, no? But either way, maybe he's doing some paperwork because it looks like he's in an office.
Yeah.
So either way, that's just nitpicky stuff. But we do see as Toy Boy was getting transported to jail, I'm assuming, this mysterious figure that we saw previously who is trying to create his own Titans, which we find out is known as the Terror Titans now, frees Toy Boy. So the Terror Titans are being created. Lately we've had a lot of opposites being created. And again, I said this previously. Terror Titans is not bad. It's not that super bad of a name. Way better than Mini Hawkman. But I do think that I don't know what's going on with like, oh, let's just create all opposite villains lately. Dark. What is Dark Fate or like I don't know what was because it just happened in Nightmares. Didn't they just create like Darkness Doctor Fate or Dark Doctor
Oh
Fate or
yeah,
something?
yeah,
I
yeah.
forgot what Nightmare Fate. I don't know what his name was,
Doctor
but
Hate.
Doctor Hate. There you go. See again, a silly name. Had had it not been a long time ago. So is what it is. If it was made a long time ago, I'd probably be like, yeah, Dr. Hate's a dope name. But now it being created right now, I'm just kind of like, that's kind of silly.
Silly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Toy Boy, everybody else here, that is kind of the Titans issue. But yeah, so kind of cool. World's Finest continuing. I do think that, it's not a bad side story to, actual world's or to World's Finest, Batman and Superman. But I do think that is the flagship. Like that one's still so good.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next book, which I don't know how you felt about this, but I did not like. Here's the thing. This is what we talked about earlier. This is the Batman and Robin book. That is going on during Gotham War.
Yes.
According to the dialogue. The art here is good, but it is like colored in a way that feels AI-ish, in my opinion. And the problem with this is at first, when I was reading this, I was like, okay, I don't know where this is coming from. I didn't know that this was going to be a part of Gotham War or why it was spinning out. I thought it was just a Batman and Robin book.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was going to be a part of Gotham War or like take place during that time. And so Batman and Robin are on a blimp, which I think is kind of cool. I believe that's what they're doing. Or they're no, hold on. They're on a blimp.
Yeah.
They're fighting on one. Because the White Rabbit is trying to take it over and kidnap some people. So I'm assuming this is the same White Rabbit that was in Dark Knight that was all like sexified.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So they have her in a more like different costume this time around. More like cosplay-ish, which I think looks kind of cool. It's got a hoodie and stuff like that. Got some ears. And she has the Black Rabbits with her. And they're trying to kidnap these people. And of course, Batman and Robin show up. But there's some cringe dialogue here from Batman.
And it's Bruce. Like,
yeah.
So, little insight for those still listening to this comic section. I'm doing some research on the era where Dick Grayson is Batman.
Okay.
And during that time, Damian was also Robin. And there was a vast difference in dialogue between the two. And you're like, okay, that is Dick Grayson Batman. This felt like Dick Grayson Batman.
Okay.
This did not feel like Bruce Batman because there is a silly, not sing-song dialogue between Batman and Robin in this issue, but it is enough to be like, why is Bruce playing along with this idea of like, oh, I'll get these guys, you get those guys, like, oh, I win, like we're gonna be keeping count. Like it's so weird.
So let me set this up because I think this can work. Williamson just wrote it terribly.
Okay.
So what happens is when they break in, there's a bunch of goons, right? And Robin's like bragging rights to whoever takes out the most White Rabbit goons. And Batman saying something that you would expect. He says, "This is a serious situation, Robin. Focus on the safety of the hostages. Then keep score. You don't do that last part. Then keep score.
Yeah.
You take that out. And you just say, this is a serious situation. Take care of the hostages. So you let Robin spew his stuff. Then you do all the fighting. You beat them all up. And at the end, when you're standing over all the bodies, Batman says, I got 10. And that's how you write it.
Yeah. Yeah. I could agree with that.
Yes.
But here he doesn't do that. And also, Damian wanting to keep score, like that's also out of character. That is a Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Jason Todd playful Robin.
Fair.
Damian has never been the playful Robin.
True. So I agree with that. And I do think that he's trying, maybe Williamson is trying to write Dick Grayson and Dick Grayson Robin.
Yeah.
Dick Grayson Batman and Dick Grayson Robin. When I think, yeah, I do think that this would be a more brutal team than Dick Grayson and Batman.
Yeah.
Like, so I agree with you. It could be out of place, but I want to give Williamson a little bit of a pass, just because we learned in Robin he was starting to become more of himself, or like more open to things. I
Okay.
will say the contrast doesn't work well with what's happening in Gotham War right now, though, because he is like a little shit and he's like brutal as hell right now.
Yeah.
So it's again, having the same character written by 3 different people is not good,
Yeah.
because you got to like get on a round table and like let's talk this out. Anyways, I agree with your point. It does sound kind of weird, but he's also 13, right? So I'm gonna be like, maybe he would say that. And maybe he's a little bit different around his dad. I don't know. Well, it's possibilities. But I do think the way Batman, like, you could have had that joke if you wanted to have that joke, but Batman says it at the end instead of like then keep score. He would never say keep score. Like, he just wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And so there was something else that happens though. Um
The random civilian that is like at their front door, like, oh,
No,
Bruce
not
Wayne.
that. In the actual fight. So this
Oh,
happens, because like the White Rabbit's like, "Oh, Batman's here. Oh, poo." And then Batman catches her and says, "Too bad you're late for a very important date in Blackgate." And Robin's like, "Yeah, you really shouldn't rhyme in a serious situation, Batman." Batman shouldn't be saying that.
yeah.
Like, I was just like, here's the thing, Clay. I thought, because of the coloring, I thought this was a dream. So I thought that Batman or Robin was gonna wake up, or Batman was gonna wake up and be like, "Whoa," you know what I mean? And it was gonna go back to them like hating each other. And I was like, that would have made sense. In a dream, they could be anyway. Like Bruce being, quippy with his son, like that's a dream come true. Like I'm bonding with my kid. So I was
Mhm.
like, oh, this is gonna be a dream. Like this is all not gonna matter. I'm not gonna get upset about this or like annoyed that like they seem very off. It wasn't a dream, because we go to the next page and there is like this, socialite. She's like, "Hey Bruce, like I got we know the bouncer at the so and so club if you want to go." And he's like, my son's moving in, so I can't really do that." He's like, "Oh, this beautiful woman's like, it's so cute that you're a single dad, yada yada." And so Robin's kind of like, ugh, and he's like, "We got to keep up appearances, you know what I mean? Like you're Bruce, you're the son of Bruce Wayne, like you got to do that too." And everything from here on out is kind of like Bruce being like, "This is where we live. Just so you know, there is a cave under this. Like I maxed everything out. Security's great, yada yada." He's like, "This is your room." And everything you've been through, like I know it could be a lot, but we'll get through this. And Robin's like, "We should probably go to bed now if we want to have optimal strength for fighting crime all night." And so he kind of closes the door. And this part, which I think is very interesting, they're continuing the manga stuff. Essentially, it looks like Damien wants to be a mangaka, maybe, or a comic book illustrator, because he's writing a comic book.
Yeah, the Damian Wayne, Damian
Vane.
Vane
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
murder of Crow's mystery.
Yeah.
I don't
How
know how
you
I felt about this.
Yeah. I Going back to your point of like Damien not being the loving, crazy type of Robin, granted, him reading manga is fine. Being an illustrator and all that kind of stuff feels a little different, because I feel like he would think it's a waste of time. You could say the same thing about manga too, but like I feel like I don't know. I don't know. It feels weird.
It's just it feels weird just because like this is a brand new concept introduced to us. Like
Yeah.
let's look at Kyle Rayner, for example.
Mhm.
Kyle Rayner was introduced as a cartoonist. He is
Mhm.
somebody who illustrates as his job, his civilian job. He's a cartoonist. So like him as a Green Lantern, it makes it very interesting the ideas that he comes up with
Yeah.
because he's an illustrator. It's very cool in that way. With Damian Wayne Robin being reintroduced
Mhm.
technically as this character who is now a little bit brighter, who is wanting to, who has a history of like loving manga and everything else, it heavily contradicts who he is as he was introduced.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with a universe that has basically combined all of its continuity together, you can't really do that.
Yeah.
Like you can get him new hobbies, you can give him new interests,
Mhm.
but we haven't seen that. It's just something that is just poof. It's here, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's very good to clarify that because we're not saying that he can't be into this or he can't be into drawing or whatever like that. It's just it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And, like, he more than likely, Ra's al Ghul never let him do any of this. So
Yeah.
he's used to killing and murdering and all that kind of stuff. But you could have had somebody like Wally West or maybe even Jonathan been like,
Introduce him to comics, to
yes,
manga.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that way he kind of gets into it. And maybe he reads it when nobody's around. And he's all like, because that would have been a cool thing in Super Sons where, maybe Jonathan's going to go meet up with Damien. He's like, so I caught you reading comics. He's like, what? I wasn't reading anything. He's like, I could see through buildings. Like,
And that's the thing also. Like I know I am somebody who is very like you have to write a story linear.
mhm,
If somebody wants to write a really good story that is set in the past of Damien being introduced to this stuff,
yeah.
and it makes me believe like, oh, this is where the passion of it came from,
Hmm.
do it. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, it just feels weird because it did come out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Also, again, it doesn't fit with how he is, and well, maybe they're gonna try to tell the story of like this is Damian Wayne, and it's different than Robin. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But it feels like he's into this stuff as a kid, as Damian Wayne. But I don't know. And here's the thing too: you didn't really need to show that part in particular right now because if he starts going to school, you could have introduced the manga there too.
Yeah.
You know? Like, you coulda
Yeah.
introduced, like, "Oh, yeah, I like to draw," or, like, I don't know, or maybe he goes into drawing class and, like, maybe what would've been interesting is if you would've tied it into, like, detective work or something, maybe he sketches out how things are done. Like, this is
Yeah.
instead of using computers and whatnot. So it's just kinda it feels like it came out of nowhere, but I'm cool with the character development if he wants to be an illustrator or he wants to be anything like that, because I think it would be better. I think Robin, Damian Wayne's Robin always needs to be kind of an asshole, in my opinion, just to set himself aside from the other Robins.
Yeah.
He needs to be just like his dad in that sense. But Damian Wayne can be softer. I'm cool with that.
Yeah. I think
So,
that's valid.
and we kind of see that when we found out that he learned so much from Alfred because there is this breakfast that they're about to eat. And Bruce has gotten up and he's like, oh, he's like, yeah, let me get some. And he's about to like get some tea or something like that. And Robin like swaps it out of his hand. He's like, you heathen. Like, that's not how you make tea. And then he like makes it right. He's like, let me show you how to do it properly, the way like Alfred would. So I really like because we know all of the Robin book was all about Robin thinking about bringing Alfred back to life with
Yeah.
Lazarus and everything. But now he's keeping Alfred alive through what he learned,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool. And he's talking about him in a very positive way. He's like, yeah, have some breakfast. He was like, Alfred would say this is more brunch.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's pretty cool that, they're kind of keeping that. It's a nice way to keep bringing Alfred into these stories, which I think is nice, especially through Damien. Because we see that in Nightwing. I mean, Nightwing did it, obviously, right, with the Alfred Foundation and all that jazz. So, this is kind of when we learn that Bruce is like, I enrolled you in school. And he's like, cool. What's my secret identity? I have plenty of them if I need to do that. Like, who are we going after? And he's like, no, you're going to go to school. Like,
As Damian Wayne.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's too much going on for me to go to school. I'm smarter than everybody there. There's no point. Plus, Catwoman thinks she has all this criminal empire going down, but she really doesn't. And so that's another hint at like the Gotham War stuff going on. Also, I don't know how I would feel, and it does feel very Damian Wayne, but like if I had a kid that was like, yeah, your ex-lover, like I'd be like, yo, let's like chill.
Chill out here. Chill
You
out.
know what I mean? And so like and then this is when it gets to the one thing I really don't like is where they're like, oh yeah, let's get in the Batmobile. He's like, about that. And then we see the Robin mobile.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it just looks like I would have preferred it be introduced where he shows up like with it to help Batman.
Yeah, because I'm again, it I don't want to like throw down like toxic masculinity or anything
Yeah.
like that. But like seeing Batman in the passenger seat just
Yeah.
looks weird. It just
Yeah.
looks weird.
It does. It looks like he's in a little monster truck. And there's nothing against it. Look, we're very nitpicky. We're calling it out for sure. But I would have liked like introduce things in cool ways. What happened to that? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like have the Batmobile explode, and they're like, "Well, I'm gonna have to call in backup." And Robin's like, "I got it," and then
And
his shows up. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like introduce things in cool ways. Like that's what I think the best thing about some animes are like the way things get introduced, right? And like you can do that in comics, and like so they show up, which I think this was really interesting. They show up in the Robin Mobile to fight Croc and the other animal people, which
Yeah,
is kind of cool.
Orca, and I can't remember the group of individuals.
They're actually called the trio. Let's see, what are they called? They say it in the thing. Let's see, the something something trio. I'm trying to remember where it's at. Um, shit, I can't find the
Terrible
name.
trios. Yeah, it's the terrible trio.
Yeah, the terrible trio, which is the fox, the shark, and the
Vulture.
vulture. They've been in the animated series before. They've been in other, I think, movies or comic books. I think it was in was it Tamaki's run?
I think it was
Did she have
Tamaki's run.
them?
Yeah.
Tamaki, a detective run, might have had them. But they've always been guys in masks.
Yeah.
But or maybe I'm not gonna say always, but for the most part, they're usually people in masks. But now it looks like they're real.
Yeah, because
So
he knocks off the mask and it's just a real fox head
yeah,
underneath it and a shark and a vulture. Yeah.
yeah. Which the shark looks the funniest. Because it's this big old head sticking out of a little body. And so it looks like George Lopez when he's a kid. Like it's just a big old head. So like I thought that was kind of funny that they had masks like of their real selves under it. Um, but then there's this mysterious character, because there's always a mysterious character, right? That snipes Batman. He's like, I'm gonna turn what you love against you, or something like that. I thought he was gonna shoot Robin,
I
which
thought
was,
so too.
I thought he was gonna shoot Robin, but Batman ends up getting hit. And after they beat up everybody, Batman's like, I'm not feeling too great. And he's like, what's going on, father? He's like, I got hit with a small gas pellet, and it hit me and I breathed it in. It's, what does it say? Not poison, something else. So Batman knows something's going on. And then all we see is a bunch of bats start attacking him and he falls off the building. And so kind of crazy that what Batman loves, quote unquote, is the bats, and so they start attacking him, and we're gonna see what happens. I thought he was gonna turn Batman or Robin into an animal, because it seems like this person is probably working with the troublesome trio or whatever, and he turned them into their actual fox selves and stuff like that. So I thought, do not tell me Batman's gonna turn into a bat. I don't want that.
I I I think that would be jumping the shark.
Yes.
Second
An issue.
issue,
Yeah, that would be
issue
crazy.
2 of this ongoing series already. So I don't think it'll happen. Especially when I am pretty sure they said that Shush will be introduced in issue 2.
Oh, I forgot about Shush. Dude, I forgot that was gonna happen. Holy shit. With some of the dialogue we got in this book, I am not excited for Shush. Um, yeah, that really sucks. I forgot about that. Not, yeah, I don't know. How is that like? Are they gonna? It's gonna have to be. Is it? Did they confirm that it's Hush's daughter or like kid or whatever?
I think they did. Yeah.
Like, I if it's anything like American schooling, I'm shocked. Well, I guess it would probably be private schooling here, right? So I guess it wouldn't matter. How would you allow Thomas Elliott's kid to be at your school? You know what I
I
mean?
I'm not entirely sure.
I feel like other people would not be comfortable with that. So, but it is what it is. Maybe they don't know. Maybe it's not going to be like, maybe the name won't be Elliot, but if it is Elliot, I'm like, bro, like who goes to those parent teacher conferences? Like, you know what I mean? So I'm curious on how they're going to write that, but we'll see.
Oh, well, I'm looking at it now.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't actually say she's
No?
inspired by Thomas Elliot, so it's not his
Oh,
daughter.
okay, cool. That's slightly better. I mean, I guess if you're inspired, you can't really, I mean, blame somebody for having a stupid name.
Yeah.
But Shush is just dumb. It's so dumb. It's still not worse than Freezy Pop or whatever Tynan came up with for the Freeze kids. Those are probably the worst names ever. Probably even worse than Mini Hawkman. Mini Hawkman is just lazy. Like that's just lazy. But it's not as bad as those. But either way, that is all we got for comics, ladies and gentlemen. I'm assuming that whatchamacallit, Gotham War will continue next week, probably with
Yeah.
Catwoman or something. We gotta react to this trailer real quick. So we're gonna watch this and we'll give our thoughts. Okay, so we just watched the Aquaman trailer, and I gotta say, doesn't look bad.
No,
It looks
doesn't.
pretty interesting.
It looks
Uh,
pretty good.
there's some Marvel type jokes in this trailer,
Yeah.
but it's Jason Momoa. Like I feel like he pulls it off. So
Yeah, I think he pulls it off fairly well.
but it is gonna be kind of cringy like cringy, jokey, Marvel-ish stuff.
I think that, overall, I think that this will be somewhat like the first one.
Mm,
With, it
yeah,
also had some random cringy jokes in there, but
for
it
sure.
still looked great and it was
Yeah.
still great overall. And I think that's what we're getting here.
Yeah. I am curious. I mean, you can tell, like, just from the brother moments that it's like, oh, yeah, this probably is going to be a story between them. They didn't show them much. They showed a lot of action. So
Yeah.
maybe that's what they're banking on. And I got to say, I loved the action in the first Aquaman. So, like, if you're giving me that again, I'm totally down. And this Black Trident, apparently, I've never heard of this before. So I don't know if this is in the comics or anything like that.
I don't recognize the Black Trident, but
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Aquaman person, so
Yeah, looks awesome. Which, by the way, speaking of Aquaman, there's a quote I need to pull up that I shared on Twitter. But as go, I'll bring it up in a little bit. But it looks good. I mean, like I'll watch it. It looks pretty cool. They did show Mira, so that means a lot of people are definitely not gonna go watch it now because they
yeah.
were. I think you should have just kept her out of the trailers altogether and just
Mhm.
got the money from the people in the seats and then been like, ah, fuck, like I'm out. I don't want to watch this. And be like, oh, we got your money already. Sorry. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think it looks kind of cool. I think Black Manta looks awesome.
Yeah.
He looks so great. He's got the classic suit this time around. It seems like more classic style. And I think it looks freaking fire. You know what? Also, people might, I doubt people are gonna like this, but Amber Heard is making the rounds right now because of Elon Musk. They
Mhm.
showed her in apparently she cosplayed for him and it was Mercy from Overwatch. So I think a lot of people are like, damn. So, maybe she's winning some people back by this Elon Musk pose. I'm not a fan of Elon Musk, but I like Mercy. Mercy's cool. But Amber Heard does seem still like wacko crazy. But anyways, I think it looked interesting. I mean, the story, here's the thing. This could be a first I mean, I don't think we're going to get an Aquaman 3, although Momoa kind of hinted at it previously, anyways, when they asked him about Aquaman 3. I am curious if we could get a villain in all three movies in a trilogy. Has that happened before? The same villain in all three movies,
No, that hasn't happened before.
you know? If this was like still the DCEU, you could have actually had Manta in all three movies, and he finally kills Aquaman in the third.
Yeah.
That would have been crazy. Because that would have been a way you could have wrote Aquaman out of the thing. I don't think we'll get an Aquaman 3 unless this does well. Unless this does well. I think it looks cool, man. I mean, we'll watch it no matter what. I mean, we watch all DC movies.
Yeah.
Because I am curious to go to the theaters to see why it's so bad.
I am curious, like,
You
especially
know?
after seeing that trailer. It looks good. It looks vibrant. It
Yeah.
looks just like the first one. I'm really curious to see what makes it like very uh Justice League
Yeah.
Justice League worthy. So it's gonna be very interesting.
I wonder if it's the jokes, you know? I wonder if people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's just like Marvel." But again, like, I mean, it's Jason Momoa, man. He probably wants to have fun. He wants to do some cool shit. But we'll see. I mean, we'll be watching it in 3 months or whatever. But I do want to point out, because it's funny, since this is Aquaman that we're talking about before we end the podcast. This person on Twitter, I saw them say it's Ann Comics, I think, said, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Spider-Man and Batman fans act so goddamn spoiled. I wish I had 2,000 issues of Aquaman to get mad at. I wish I could nitpick every single moment or alt costume in the Captain Marvel game, because at least it's something. And I had quoted this and I was all like, as someone who runs a Batman podcast, this is the truest statement I've ever read on Twitter. Because I think it's fair. I mean, we are able to nitpick Batman as much because he has so much content.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're a fan of like Blue Beetle, right? We've talked about Blue Beetle before. We're like, man, I wish there was more Blue Beetle content. But I mean, they're starting to come out with more. But for the longest time, there was no Blue Beetle content. If you like a different type of hero, like you have to hope like somebody like Tom King or somebody's gonna bring out one of these older heroes, you know what I mean? And be like, yeah, they're giving him some love. But yeah, I thought that was just funny. I was like, yeah, it's true. I mean, we talk about it all the time. We bitch and complain about little stuff, but it's because we feel like it doesn't fit the character. But it must suck for like an Aquaman fan who maybe has maybe they love the Jeff Johns run and then they have a different run that's completely different than that, and they're like, oh, this is not great, and that you're probably only run you're gonna get for a while. So it's like that sucks. But I don't know. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our podcast this week. A lot of different little tits and tats that we talked about. But Clay, what do you got going on this week, man?
This week, go check out Star Wars Alliance. We reviewed episode 5 of Ahsoka. That was the really big, huge episode that actually aired in theaters for some places. So go check out our review there. Sometime in the next week, we will also be reviewing the book Tales of Light and Life, which has, I think, like a total of 6 mini stories tying into the whole High Republic era. We're going to be reviewing that pretty soon. So be on the lookout for that.
Noise. I am still just slowly working on a lot of stuff. I need to get been doing a lot of stuff for my job because I'm trying to get ahead since I'll be traveling in October. So I'm trying to get all that done in advance, but also so I can work on other stuff and not have to worry about my job right now. But I have the intro video for the new channel complete, and I'm probably like 50% done on the first video as well. So moving slowly on that, which has been pretty good. But I also am streaming every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday. So come by. Saturday streams are also earlier in the day too. So if you guys want to come check that out, they happen around 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you're not doing anything on Saturday, come hang out. But that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. As always, he is Fanboy Clay. I am Juice Wayne. And remember, Batman is awesome. News Weekly.